Alright, so here is page 7 from Unit 6. On page 6 we did dividing, then we did multiplying, and then now we're going to do adding and subtracting rational expressions. Okay, a rational expression has a numerator and then it has a denominator. Okay, now just a reminder that whenever you have a rational expression or whenever you have a fraction, so like if you have a over b and you're adding or subtracting another rational expression, c over b, okay, you can go ahead and add the numerator, so you do a plus c, as long as you have a common denominator, and then you just bring the denominator over. You don't add the denominators, okay? And then, but if you don't have a common denominator, then you're going to have to find one. So for example, let's say that you have 3 over 4 plus 5 over 4. You can go ahead and bring it over. So you have 3 plus 5 is 8, and then you just bring the common denominator over. But then if you don't have one, so let's say if you have 2 over 3 plus 4 over 5, you're going to have to find a common denominator. And we do that by, you take the first one and then you multiply numerator and denominator by this denominator over here. And then over here, you're going to multiply numerator and denominator by whatever's over here. So you would end up having 5 times 2, which is 10, over 5 times 3, which is 15, plus 4 times 3 is 12, over 5 times 3 is 15. Now that we have a common denominator, you bring that over, and then you can just add the numerator. So you have 10 plus 12, which is 22, and that would be my answer. So now when we come to rational expression, it's the same concept. You're going to first check to see if there's a common denominator, and there is. So you're going to bring that over. And then you're just going to combine the numerators. Okay, so like in the numerators, you have 4x plus 1x, which is 5x. And then 1 plus 5, which is 6. Basically, we are combining like terms. And I cannot put these two together because they are not like terms, and I cannot cancel anything because they're not written as factors. I'm going to do number 3, and then I'll come to these two. So let's do number 3, since there's a common denominator. Okay, since there's a common denominator, I can go ahead and just bring it over. K plus 1. Alright, so when we're subtracting, we have to, this is how I usually like to put it. I like to put the first one over, so 5k minus 7, bring over my minus sign, and then just bring this 2k over here, okay? And then now I can go ahead and combine like terms. So you have 5k minus 2k, which is 3k minus 7, all over k plus 1. Okay, and that is my final answer for that. Alright, so over here, now we're going to have to look for a common denominator because there's 4a here and there's 8a here. Okay, so what I can do to make this have a 8a is if I multiply by 2, then I would have 8a, right? So you have 2 times 4a would be 8a over here. But if I multiply the denominator, I have to go ahead and multiply the numerator as well. So you have 2 times 3, which is 6 over 8a minus 1 over 8a. Now that I have a common denominator, I just bring it over. And then you have 6 minus 1, which is 5. And then over here, we need a common denominator. Now this one's a little bit more tricky. So to get a denominator that's common, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this denominator, and I'm going to go ahead and put parentheses by x plus 4. And then at the numerator, you also do x plus 4. And I'm going to just put everything in parentheses showing it's being multiplied. And then on this side, I'm going to go ahead and put x plus 3. x minus 3. Okay, I'm just going to put parentheses. Okay, and then now I'm going to clean this up a little. So in this one, I'm going to take the 5, I'm going to go ahead and distribute it. Okay, so you have 5 times x, which is 5x. 5 times 4 is 20. Okay, and then in the denominator, instead of foiling this out, I'm just going to leave it in factored form. Okay, bring down the plus sign, and then same thing here, I'm going to distribute. So you have 2 times x, which is 2x, and then 2 times negative 3, which is negative 6, and then bring over the common denominator. Okay, again, I'm leaving it in factored form. And now that I have the same denominator, I can go ahead and add my numerator. So I'm going to just bring down the common denominator here. And then I'm going to combine the like terms in my numerator. So you have 5x plus 2x, that's 7x. And then you have 20 minus 6, which is 14, plus 14. Okay. Now, to be able to simplify this, I can see in the numerator that I can factor this out because there's a common factor between 7x and 14, which is 7. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and factor out a 7. So you have x plus 2. Okay. And then let me make sure 5x and then 20 and then 2x minus 6. And then when I add them together, 7x. Okay, yeah, that looks good. Because usually, sometimes, maybe we could go ahead and cancel out some factors, but we can't. So I'm just going to leave it like this. Okay, or sometimes you might see it where it's all multiplied out. Okay, so for example, it would be 7x and then plus 14, and then you can go ahead and FOIL this out. So you have x times x, which is x squared, x times negative 3, which is negative 3x plus 4x, and then so this would be negative 12, and then if I were to simplify this even more, you would have 7x plus 14, and then you would have x squared, and then here you can combine your like terms. You have negative 3 plus 4x, which is 1x minus 12. Okay, you might see the answer like this as well. Okay. Good now. All right, so here are some multiple choice questions, practices we can work on. I'm going to show you how to do them by hand, and then there's also a way you can check these in our calculator. Okay. All right, so here we have here 3x plus 6x. Okay, and then we're going to go ahead and find the common denominators. If since there's a 3x and there's a 6x, I can multiply this by 2. So you would end up having 10 over 6x plus, and then you have x plus 6 over 6x. And then bring this over. So you have 10, and then these two are like terms. You have 10 plus 6 is 16. And then you have the x. Okay, and then that's my answer. over here, we need to find a common denominator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply my left expression by n minus 4. And then you have n minus 4. And then over here, you're going to multiply, and then I like to put just parentheses. And then over here, I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator by n minus n plus 5. My bad. This one right here. Okay. All right, now let's go ahead and simplify all of this. So you have n times n, which is n squared. And then n times negative 4 is negative 4n. Over, and then I'm going to go ahead and leave this in factored form, n minus 4, and then n plus 5, plus, and I'm going to go ahead and distribute this. You have 3 times n is 3n, and then 3 times 5 is 15. Over, and then bring this over. Okay. I just need a bit more space here, so let me redo this problem here. So again, let me just show you. So in the denominator over here, you know that it's going to be these two multiplied. So you can just bring that over, n plus 5 and then n minus 4. In the numerator, what happens is these two get multiplied together. So you would have 3 times n plus 5 plus, and then these two get multiplied together. Okay, so you have n times n minus 4. Okay, so maybe it's just a little better than, you know, writing it out so much here. Okay, and then now let's go ahead and simplify this. I'm going to go ahead and distribute this. I'm not distributing it here because 3 is in front of only this parentheses. So you have 3n plus 5 okay. Okay, and then you would do 3 times 5, which is 15. And then here you would have n times n, which is n squared. And then n times negative 4 is negative 4n. Okay, and then now we're going to just bring over my common denominator. Okay, all right, and then now I'm gonna combine my like terms. Now, when we're writing, you can tell that there's an n squared, so that is, I'm gonna go ahead and write that term first. I'm gonna write that as n squared. And then I can combine these two. So you have 3n minus 4n. So 3 minus 4 is negative 1n. Okay. And then you have here, so those two are gone. And then you have plus 15. Okay. And then you have this. You have n plus 5. And then you have n minus 4. Okay. And then when I look on my answer choice, I probably don't see that anywhere. Maybe I do. N squared minus n over 15 and plus 5. There it is. It's B. Okay. All right. So that was number 2. Let's look at number 3. Okay. So you have here. So you have n minus 6 over n plus 5 minus 6n over n plus 2. Okay, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and in the denominator, I'm just going to put these two as being multiplied because that's going to end up being my common denominator. And in the numerator, you can go ahead and multiply these two. So you do 6n multiplied by n plus 5 minus, it's a minus problem or subtraction problem, and then you go ahead and multiply these two. So I'm just going to write it like this. You have n minus 6 over as times n plus 2. Okay, so I don't see that answer here, so I'm going to go ahead and keep simplifying this. So over here, let me go ahead and multiply these two right here. So you have 6n times n, which is equal to 6n squared. 6n times 5 is equal to 30n. And then over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring down this minus sign, and I'm going to go ahead and FOIL these out. So you have n times n is, and I'm going to put that in a big set of parentheses, okay? So you have here n times n is n squared, and you have n times 2 is 2n, and then you have negative 6 times n is negative 6n, and then you have here negative 6 times 2, which is negative 12. And then here, you do need to combine your like terms. So you have 2n minus 6, which is, I'm just going to write it here so after we write everything. That would be equal to negative 4n. Okay, so you have n squared minus 4n minus 12. Okay, now the reason I put it in parentheses right here is because of this negative. Now this negative needs to be distributed to everything before I can combine your like terms. Okay, so here it's basically like having negative 1 here. So whenever you're distributing a negative 1 or a negative sign, it just changes all the signs inside of your parentheses. Okay, and don't forget this still had a denominator here, so let me go ahead and bring that down. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and distribute this. So let me just bring this down because I'm not changing anything here. I'm just changing this here. So you have negative n squared plus 4n plus 12. Now that I got rid of that, I distributed that negative. And then bring this down. Okay. And then here, I'm going to now go ahead and combine my like terms. So you have 6n minus n, that is 5n squared. Sorry, 6n squared minus n squared is 5n squared. Done with that. 30n plus 4 is 34n plus 12. Okay. And then bring down the common denominator. I hope this is in our answer choices. So let's see. That was number 3. I see it, but I see a negative of it. Alright, well, that cannot be it. I don't know if I did anything wrong. Let me go ahead and check my work here. So you have n minus 6 times n plus 2. You have your minus sign, 6n, so 6n squared, 30n. Alright, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and just check my answers in Desmos because I'm kind of lost here. So what I had how I can check my answers in Desmos is okay. So what you can do here is you can take your original problem. So I'm going to switch back to our practice here. Okay. What we can do here is, so answer choice D seems like the closest answer, okay, to what I got. So one way you can check it is you can go ahead and put your original in the Desmos. So I'm gonna just do, so whenever you're doing fractions, just go ahead and put the fraction like that. So you have n minus 6 over n plus 5 minus, and then put a fraction bar again, so you have 6n over n plus 2. Now it's going to ask you to put a slider. That means we're going to put some number in there, okay? By default it's going to be 1. So since this is my closest, let me go ahead and put that in. So I'm going to put my fraction bar in the numerator. I have negative 5n squared minus 34n minus 12 over n plus 5, and then n plus 2. Now I should get the right decimal. Yeah, even when you move this over, it's always going to be the same decimal, which means that these two are equivalent. So it is D. So I must have done something wrong in my calculations here. Okay, so let me look at this. I'm thinking it's somewhere over here that is my mistake. So I'm going to do this the longer way. So you have here, let me start over, n minus 6 over n plus 5 minus 6n over n plus 2. So I'm going to get a common denominator, I'm going to multiply this side by n plus 2, numerator and denominator. And then on this side, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing, but with this denominator, n plus 5, n plus 5. And then here, I'm going to go ahead and do my FOIL. So you have n times n, which is n squared. N times negative 6 is negative 6n. And then 2 times n is 2n. And then 2 times negative 6 is negative 12. And then you have, yeah. Okay, and then I'm just going to bring this down. And then I have minus, and then over here I have 6n times n, which is 6n squared, 6n times 5, which is plus 30n over, and then you have all of this. Okay, now here, this negative needs to be distributed to my numerator here. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down. I'm going to go ahead and combine my like terms here. And then again, I need to distribute this negative. So you have here negative 6n squared, and then negative 30 is negative 30n. And then now let me go ahead and it's just a common denominator, so I wrote it 1. So let me clean up the numerator. So n squared minus 6n, that's negative 5n squared, there it is. And then you have here negative 4 minus 30, that's negative 34n. And then negative 12. So my shortcut didn't work on this one. Okay. And there's my answer. Okay, so now the final problem here is this one right here. So you have, for number 5, you have, sorry, number 4. So you have here 2 over x plus 4 plus 5x over 2x minus 5. Okay, I'm not going to do any of the shortcuts here, so I'm going to have to multiply top and bottom by 2x plus 5, so you're going to have to do 2x minus 5 times 2 in the numerator over 2x plus minus 5 times x plus 4 here, plus, and then in the numerator here you have these two multiplied together, so you have x plus 4 times 5x, and then in the denominator you have x plus 4 times 2x minus 5. Okay. Alright, here now I'm going to distribute. So you have 2 times 2 is 4x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. And then my denominator is just, the common denominator. So let me bring that down. And then over here, 5x times x is 5x squared. 5x times 4 is 20x. Okay. Combine my like terms, and we like to write the x squared first, right? So we're going to write 5x squared. Put these two together, which is 24x. And then minus 10, and then you have all of this. Let me check if that answer is there. So, there's 16x. I see it. So in my original problem, it's x minus 4, not plus 4. My bad. Which means that this is negative, which means that these two are negative, which means that this is 5x squared, and this would be negative 20. That's pretty much the only thing that changes. So this is minus, this is minus. And then now if I do 4x minus 20, that would be negative 16. And then there you go. That now it matches. Okay.